Unit 5, Lesson 12. 12.1 Grapes per minute. If you eat 5 grapes per minute for 8 minutes, how many grapes will you eat? So we're eating 5 grapes per minute, and we are going to be eating those for 8 minutes. So you will be eating 40 grapes per minute. If you hear 9 new songs per day for 3 days, how many songs will you hear? 9 new songs per day, 3 days, 27 songs. If you run 15 laps per practice, how many practices will it take you to run 30 laps? Well, we have 30 laps, and we're going to divide that up into 15 laps per practice. So 2 laps, or how many practices will it be? It'll be 2 practices. Water level in the aquarium. A large aquarium should contain 10,000 liters of water when it is filled correctly. It will overflow if it gets up to 12,000 liters. The fish will get sick if it gets down to 4,000 liters. The aquarium has an automatic system to help keep the correct water level. If the water level is too low, a faucet fills it. If the water level is too high, a drain opens. One day, the system stops working correctly. The faucet starts to fill the aquarium at a rate of 30 liters per minute, and the drain opens at the same time, draining the water at a rate of 20 liters per minute. Is the water level rising or falling, and how do you know? Well, we know that it starts to fill at 30 liters per minute. So we'll say it's filling at a positive 30. But at the same time, we're combining it with a rate of it's draining 20 liters per minute. So it's losing this. Well, if it's filling 30 liters but draining at 20 liters, that leaves us with 10 liters per minute. So it is filling, it's just filling at a slow rate of 10 liters per minute. How long will it take until the tank starts overflowing or the fish get sick? Well, we know it's filling because it's a positive. If it should contain 10,000 liters and it will overflow at 12,000, we can take 12,000 and subtract the 10,000 from it. That means we have 2,000 liters to work with. We know it is filling at 10,000 liters per minute. So if we take the 2,000 and divide that by 10, that means it's going to take about 200 minutes before the tank starts to overflow. So about 3 hours and 20 minutes or so is how long it will be until it overflows. A different aquarium should contain 15,000 liters of water when filled correctly. It will overflow if it gets to 17,600 liters. One day there's an accident and the tank cracks in 4 places. Water flows out of each crack at a rate of 1/2 a liter per hour. An emergency pump can refill the tank at a rate of 2 liters per minute. How many minutes must the pump run to replace the water lost each hour? Well, we know there are 4 cracks, and each crack, it flows out of it at 1/2 of a liter per hour. So 4 times 1/2 means that it's going to be draining or leaking 2 liters per hour. We also know that an emergency pump will refill the tank at 2 liters per minute. So if we notice here, it's falling out or coming out 2 liters per hour, but it's being filled back up at 2 liters per minute. So the emergency tank must run to fill it about 1 minute every hour. 1 minute every hour, then it would even out. Because every minute is filling 2 liters, and then, or losing 2 liters every minute and filling 2 liters every hour. So as long as it runs 1 minute every hour, the tank should be okay. Something to think about with in the lesson summary is that we saw that you've seen the word velocity and speed using positive and negative numbers. So speed with direction is called velocity. Positive velocities always represent a movement in the opposite direction from negative velocities. So we can do this vertical movement, like moving up can be represented with positive numbers, moving down with negative numbers. The magnitude just tells you how fast it's going, and the sign tells you which direction. Like to the right might be positive, to the left might be negative. East might be positive, left might be negative. We do actually do it the other way around. We could, if you wanted to. Like you could say this way is negative and left is positive, or down is positive and up is negative. You could do that, but usually we make up positive and down negative. One other thing I wanted to add on is this little tic-tac-toe chart that I'm sure some of you have seen. And it only works with multiplying or dividing positive and negative numbers, not addition and subtraction. But if you make this little tic-tac-toe board where you have a plus sign and 2 minus signs, or negative, positive, and negative, so it looks like this. It's like a tic-tac-toe board, if you looked at it. And this means that positive times a negative equals a negative. Negative times a positive equals a negative. Negative times a negative equals a positive. So if you notice, when you multiply or divide, and if you see a negative symbol, you have to have 2 of them in the problem and a positive. There always has to be 2 negatives to equal out with 1 positive. And this would work with division also. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. And negative divided by a negative is a positive every time. So this little tic-tac-toe board could be something that you remember or write down somewhere. Anytime you multiply or divide a positive by a positive, you always have a positive. But this happens when you end up with a negative number somewhere. You have to have 2 negatives and a positive in the problem.